Well, my name is Richard Mellen. This is my backyard garden. How can you have a garden without a garden dog, right? She's the garden protector. Good girl. That's a good girl. Yeah. Yo. Started with nothing here but dirt, and I wanted to show what is possible. Wanted to share my experience and hopefully encourage others to follow my same path. So about COVID, the financial impact on every family now is affected everyone in some extent. The proper allocation of resources, even more important in the family unit. The way we spend money, what we spend money on, become more critical. It's helped us put more of a perspective on how important the family is and focusing on things that really matter. I think that the importance of people's diet and what they eat, and what they choose to consume has been accentuated with COVID. We were already starting to try to eat more natural and healthy foods, but now with this garden has allowed us to create many of the things that we consume with no pesticides, using heirloom seeds. And now it's really helped us in our diet. I've been losing weight, which is good, less sugars, less processed foods. I think with COVID, people are being more selective with what they're choosing to eat or buy. People are starting to adjust to what's going around, and hopefully people can learn, important lessons now that they can build on in the short term and become, a lifelong lifestyle change. That's great. Lay in the mud, right? Nice. When I first bought this house, there was just dirt back here. I started building slowly, one raised bed at a time. I worked on the irrigation, so it's all on automatic timers to make it easier, especially if you have a full-time job. And I started small and built all this, and I just wanted to try to encourage people that they could do the same. I had no experience, no knowledge. I never really grew anything when I was younger, and I think people can do the same thing as I did as long as they get the right encouragement. Here's how this pomegranate first looked with this very scraggly and undeveloped, and now we have this tree that's over 12, 13 feet tall, and we harvest dozens of pomegranates off this plant last season. One of the most important aspects of any backyard garden is building a good raised bed foundation. One of the best reasons to use a raised bed is that you don't have to till the soil. You can just consistently add soil to the top structure. And if you design your soil structure in the right way, natural biology starts working, breaking down the elements that are in your soil and drawing those down to the bottom of your raised bed where your plant roots need the most nutrition. So this is the preferable method of gardening, and it's the most simplest in terms of maintenance because it requires none. You just continually to fill the soil from the top, and after a few months, once the biology starts, it will naturally start breaking down the soil. So basically 1 or 2 times a year, I just add more soil to the top and keep the process going. And it's very easy if you have the right components. And there are some very easily found components. Home Depot sells a masonry block that has cutouts on all 4 sides. So you can easily stack them 2 high. They're already slotted for 2x4s. Then you can easily take a 10-foot plank, cut it in half, and now you have the side rails for your raised bed garden. So this is what I wanted to describe a little bit more in detail about the raised bed. You can build your corner pieces, like I said, with these masonry block that already have the wedges pre-made for you to support your 2x4s. Home Depot will cut it for free. Any lumber yard will cut your pieces for free. So you can literally put together your raised bed with no tools. I use non-pressure treated wood, again, to limit and eliminate the chance of chemicals being released in your soil. I've been really trying to stick with that. Once you place these 2 block high, these come pre-drilled right in the center. And so after setting the foundation of those raised bed corners, I run a 24-inch rebar down the center of that. 1/2-inch rebar is what you want. I'll drive this 24-inch rebar down into the ground to where it's basically about 6 inches down. So down to the top of this block. And then the beautiful part about that is then that allows you to slide your 1/2-inch EMT conduit. Again, this is galvanized, so it won't rust. Slide it right through the hole, but inside the rebar. So the rebar will act as a reinforcing element to your conduit. And then that will support the structure all the way up. And then you can put together just a simple 90-degree elbow, so with a screwdriver. So essentially you can do this almost with no tools. And then attach your elbow and your supporting piece. And then I put anchor bolts into this block to help support it. And again, also, you'll see anchor bolts with screws, eye holes I put in. And I put in this wire at a 45-degree angle on both sides. So there's nothing that's gonna blow over this structure frame, which again is critical for the Arizona monsoon storms. None of my plants ever get damaged in any of the storms. And that is a great way to protect your investment. Many of my plants are 7 and 8 feet tall. So those plants would never survive if you don't build a strong foundation like this. And then once you get your strong support structure with the EMT conduit, then when you put in your welded wire, and I recommend using the 5-foot tall welded wire that basically provides cages or support structures for your plants, and then you can chain together those welded wire frames for your plants and provide a very supportive structure elements all through your raised bed garden. It's a great way to easily get started in putting together a great garden. One of the most important aspects of any backyard or urban garden is using heirloom seeds. The problem is when you go to the local, Home Depot or Lowe's, a lot of those are hybrids. So you can find non-GMO seeds very easily online, and that's most critical because once a hybrid plant gets seeded, future seeds of that plant will not be the same as the original species. That's why it keeps changing, and they're not very productive and they're not good for your garden. So you want to focus on just heirloom or non-GMO seeds, because then you will have the seeds naturally spread through your garden, and it will actually increase your production. It's called permaculture, And you can spread that, theory through your garden very easily using heirloom seeds. I can't stress how important that is in your beginning stages, because if you can focus on just those type of seed species, once you develop and create the proper environment in your backyard, you will have birds that will help you. They will spread the seeds for you. Certain areas that maybe you didn't think could be productive, then you'll start getting volunteer plants, what it's called. So again, here is the importance of using heirloom seeds, in that these are just 2 plants that grew up out of the ground. I didn't even plant them. We've harvested thousands of cherry tomatoes off these plants, but even now still there are hundreds more cherry tomatoes. These cherry tomatoes are incredible. They're 2-3 inches around. You can make a nice salad with just that. So this is one of the differences between growing your own food and buying it from the store, is that these items come right from your garden. No chemicals. You control what pesticides are put on them. I choose no pesticides, and I think that's best for your family. Okay, and what's even more important is even dogs know how important it is to eat their veggies. She loves cucumbers too. When you talk about letting a plant go to seed, you have some choices. During the maturing part stage of the plant, you can of course harvest the usable portions of the plant. You can adopt a strategy where you may harvest part of the plant, but allow like the back half of the plant to go to seed, what they call going to seed. And here I've put in some radishes and I've allowed them to go to seed. What that means is after the plant develops through its maturity, it will start developing its own seed, this is the plant's own life cycle. As they mature, they'll create little capsules here for you. And then you can, once these fully dry out, you can break these down and there'll be seeds inside these. And what it's doing is it's generating seed before it dies. So you normally have to allow a plant to technically die part of it. It will replicate its seed as long as it's an heirloom variety, non-GMO seed. That seed will then be in the top or upper portions of the plant. There'll be seeds in here. So look how many of those little seeds just in that one little capsule. And now you will have 10 times the number of plants in your garden. So here is my herb garden. One of the best uses of a herb garden is that you can use it for your cooking. You can use it for herbal teas. It's great to spice up any dish, so you can help you utilize your food, even more importantly during these trying times. I have everything from large leaf parsley, cilantro, lemon thyme, dill, oregano, fresh oregano. Here's an English thyme. This is beautiful. This is a lemon balm plant. So it has a very strong odor of lemon. It's fantastic. You can use it in salads. You can use it in your tea, is very popular. And I have these huge rosemary plants, which were very, very small when I first bought them. Actually, I only bought one. That is basil. It's called the dark purple opal basil. It'll actually turn a heavy purple color. We have a thornless blackberry, which is a Primark Freedom blackberry. You can get them from Norse Farms. Huge 2-inch long fruit segments that are beautiful. They're monstrous and they're really fantastic for eating. Oh man, you've never tasted anything as good as that. And the fact that they're thornless makes it even easier to take care of. And so here's a great thing to have around your garden. It's aloe vera plants, which are very low water usage, very desert friendly. It's great to have in the event of someone gets a burn. And then here's another one of my favorite pride plants is a purple Cherokee tomato plant. This I've already harvested several large tomatoes off it. Don't waste your money on buying very large, expensive plants. Try to buy small plants. If you properly design it, the seeds, if you allow some of the herbs, your favorite herbs, to go to seed, then that will help replicate the plant and help you grow an even larger herb garden to provide more production for you, which is great. This whole plant just came from one little bitty plant, and then I learned to propagate them by tipping them. You take one strand, put it in the soil, and it will start growing its own roots. And then boom, now you can propagate your own second plant. That's what this is. This was a second plant that I propagated from the primary plant. So it's a great way, again, to increase the production in your garden for free, which is the best part about all of this. I think Arizona is uniquely situated in that because of its growing season, if you design the right backyard or urban garden, you can literally grow 12 months out of the year. You can plan a late winter crop and learn how to overwinter your plants. Here's another sample of a volunteer plant. This is a brand new cherry plant that's come up out of the ground. It's very healthy. Here it is early summer. I'll allow that to grow, and I'll be harvesting cherry tomatoes off this in the winter. So early winter before the freeze. So this is another sample of the life cycle of a garden. Once you get started, you'll have large plants like this plant was overwintered, and I harvested hundreds of cherry tomatoes off of it now. And then you'll have volunteer plants like this that will grow in stages, and you'll allow that life cycle of the plant to continue through your garden. And so you can build multiple harvests during the year and use that to fill gaps in what you can find in the stores or other sources that may not be readily available to you now. So when you design your garden, if you plant bushes like this honeysuckle bush, what it does, it throws off a bright red flower, which will naturally attract your pollinators, your bees, your hummingbirds to your garden. Conceptually, if you lay out your garden like this, these pollinators, of course, will generate a lot of improvement in your plants. They're just really nice to look at as well. These are one of my favorite garden plants. These are painted serpent cucumbers. I grow these every season. They'll produce these massive looking cucumbers. They can get 18, 20 inches long, and they're fantastic for salads. Some of the best cucumbers I've ever eaten. It's great for, again, attracting pollinators, the yellow blooms. Here's a herb, antihyssop, that's great. Puts off these beautiful purple flowers that again attract your bees. I have it right here next to a dwarf nectarine tree. You try to focus on complementary plants that attract the pollinators you'll have a fantastic garden. So this is the dwarf nectarine. This is a semi-dwarf lime tree. You see all these lime fruits that are already growing all over this tree. And this is a full-sized Lisbon lemon tree. So this one will grow largest. What determines the size of the tree or the fruit tree is not the fruit tree. It's actually the root stock. The fruit trees do not work like normal other plants. They will take a sample of the tree, the stalk of the tree, cut it and graft it onto the rootstock. And then the size and type of the rootstock is what determines the size of your tree. And then I planted this semi-dwarf lime tree because it will be smaller over time. And in terms of elevation, it will block less of the sun and allow more of the sun to transfer through to the larger tree, which again aids in fruit development and overall health of the tree. And you can actually have a lime branch growing on your lemon tree. So there's some really interesting things that people do with grafting. You know, people are really, you can literally have a fruit tree that has 5 or 6 different fruit stalks on it of different trees. I planned a lot about the way this garden would be laid out, just like that first bed that we saw. It's on the northern side of the garden, so it picks up all of the best, you know, morning sun, but yet late day, the house will block the sun from that bed, and so the summer sun will be less likely to kill off those plants. And you can actually create unique areas in your garden just by thinking a little bit about the sun, the way it sets in the day. You know, are you planting summer crops in this garden, but yet on the southern side of the house, you may want to put more winter crops when the sun is setting lower in the horizon. This is a perfect location. It has really good morning sun. We're on the east side of the structure, so it doesn't get a lot of the harmful western sun. So if you can design your garden to get a lot of the helpful morning sun, this will really help you design the most efficient use of even such a small area as this little backyard. You can reap huge harvests from just this small area. You can see how much you can literally produce in such a little space. Well, I just want to say thank you for stopping by my garden. It means a lot to me. This is something that I'm very passionate about. I hope that you check out various resources. There's a ton out there: urban farming education, YouTube. There's a lot of great starting gardeners there that can help inspire you. I'll put up some resources on my gardening blog. One of the best elements of having your own garden is that it's very therapeutic. It's very relaxing for me, especially given these trying times that we're going through. But this has always been my paradise that I created myself. I'm out here working with my hands, watching the hummingbirds and the bees go to work and help me in my garden. It's very, very therapeutic. I just hope that this will help others to think about this and to really try to strive to do something like this, because the benefits are enormous once you get started. I don't know. I like my veggies, Dad. There we go. Is that great? Oh my goodness.